After the breakup of a relationship, there is rarely a complete lull. Usually one of the partners still hopes to get everything back and uses manipulation to achieve their goals. However, sometimes the situation looks completely ambiguous. The former writes messages hiding his true motives, without directly exerting pressure, does not ask for anything and does not require anything. The meaning of his messages is unclear, and it is not clear how to respond to this. Interesting details were discovered as a result of monitoring social networks and conducting surveys. Most often, people decide to write to their exes during the depressive periods of the year, mainly in the fall. Probably, the confidence in the correctness of such a decision is reinforced by the influence of alcohol. A standard situation is when a drunk ex contacts or an ex-boyfriend reminds of himself under the influence of sadness. Why are they doing this? This is the effect of recycling negativity. Time heals, and it's not just a beautiful phrase, it's a psychological fact. The psyche functions in such a way that negative emotions become a heavy burden for it, requiring significant resources for processing. To relieve herself of this unnecessary burden, she simply disposes of what causes anger, irritation, worries or resentment. As a result, the former partner does not seem so bad to us after a few months, 6 months, or even years. It doesn't matter which of us has put an end to the relationship. Over time, this event seems to us less erroneous or at least not so unambiguously true. If the ex is not an absolute nightmare, why not keep in touch with him? The idea of writing a message and just finding out how he's doing is quite reasonable. For the psyche, one of the most difficult conditions is uncertainty. That feeling of understatement, when everything seems to be clear, but not completely, and not completely. At the moment of the quarrel, they said everything they wanted, and in the evening they suddenly realized that they should have remembered this and that, said this and that. They don't wave their fists after a fight, but our consciousness rarely adheres to this principle. Hence the belief that you still have a lot to talk about. If you abandon the former, then the thought matures in his head that he was misunderstood, was not allowed to speak out, was not allowed to defend his position and explain his actions. It seems to him that it is very important to convey some information to the quitter. And for this you have to write. The paradox is that the quitter himself sometimes has the desire to write in order to communicate something. For example, it may seem to him, or her, that she, has not fully avenged his suffering. Imagine a situation: a guy cheated on a girl, she left him, but there is so much resentment in his soul that there were not enough insults against him. I want to make it even more painful, to be naughty, to humiliate. And then the idea of getting in touch no longer seems pointless. The former ended up in a pit, figuratively speaking. He lacks presence, communication, tender feelings and affection, or there is an acute shortage of physical intimacy, lack of finances. Maybe he lived with you, and now he has to live with his parents. Or the guy provided for the girl, and now she's left with nothing. Or there was a delicious dinner on the table every day, which naturally remained in the past. It also happens that a person's life is painted, the future is transparent and clear, and with the departure of the satellite, all plans disappeared into thin air. In psychology, this is called frustration, that is, the inability to close existing needs. With increasing efforts, the goal remains unattainable and then the individual goes into apathy to accumulate strength. He may feel sad sitting in an apartment or wandering alone in the park, distracted by movies, friends, work. Some people totally go into escapism. And then we feel the strength to respond to the emotions of anger and get in touch with our exes. For what? And it is unknown, just the psyche is looking for options to somehow patch up the holes that have formed. Sometimes we are completely indifferent to what and how the ex lives. There is no desire to build a relationship with him, maybe we are even glad that the girl waved at us. But despite the total indifference, the psyche continues to monitor the context in order to find support for self-esteem. It is important to her that the exes do not become happier after the breakup, otherwise it turns out that we are ballast and our value is zero. Information is required for monitoring, and you have to keep in touch to get it. Therefore, many people write just like that, for the sake of dialogue about nothing, and there seems to be no intention. And the man himself is convinced that he does not feel any interest in the ex-satellite, but in practice everything is a little different. We find out the news and maintain our own self-worth. If the ex is still single or has failed in a new relationship, then this is good. If she has a cool boyfriend and has generally become prettier, then the news is unpleasant, but it can be discounted. It's really bad if people really take off after getting rid of us. Regardless of the outcome, we really want to know what's going on in the lives of exes. For this reason, we visit their social media pages, and some even arrange stalking. Man is a social animal and belonging to a group is extremely important to him. Our loved ones and those who once entered this circle become a support for the psyche once and for all. Perhaps your ex accepted the breakup a long time ago and does not feel any desire to return anything, but right now he finds himself in the context of anxiety, instability, fuss, worries. His instincts force him to restore social ties. Many people, feeling young and strong, easily burn bridges, throwing out from their surroundings all those who did not like something. But in old age, they try to make peace with their brothers and sisters, establish relationships with their parents, and get in touch with friends. We all love the meetings of classmates very much, we remember the guys from the yard with nostalgia. You can write to your exes for this reason. Just so that you don't feel rejected and abandoned anymore. What should I do if X is right? A direct question is unlikely to help you in any way. In most cases, the person himself does not understand why exactly he is doing this. You'll hear something like, just like that, I accidentally saw you in the feed and decided to find out how you were doing. No specifics are likely to follow. Only a few will say, let's try again, or, I still love you. And even here, with a 90% probability, everything said will turn out to be a lie. First, try to understand what emotions these messages cause you. If you feel emotional uplift or strong irritation, then it would be more correct to sincerely say so. The main thing is not to use accusatory phrases. Instead of, I don't want to talk to you, it's better to say, I'm not interested in communication, I'm very busy right now. It is important that the interlocutor does not think that he is in any way bad. Even so, don't pour salt on the wounds. If communication does not bother you in general, then you should define personal boundaries. What is acceptable and what is definitely not. We can call in the evening, but we can't meet. I don't mind discussing the news, but I won't talk about my personal life. Etc. If you don't mind going back to your ex yourself, and he seems to want the same thing, then communication loses all meaning here. Tell us directly about your desires and state the conditions. The candy bouquet period is impossible here. A romantic union should begin with mutual sympathy and mutual interest, and since you are playing guess my intentions with each other, you will not succeed in anything but a mess. Thanks for your attention. Be sure to share your opinion in the comments.